Good afternoon. This is another episode of Bridging Black Love, and I'm Dr. Jacqueline.
And I'm Misha.
And today we have, the esteemed pleasure of speaking with a person that I really, really adore. Her name is Teresa, and her lovely husband, Vincent. And today we're going to be talking about navigating a relationship before, during, and after incarceration. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, so take it away.
My name is Vincent Carter Vincent.
My name is Teresa Carter Vincent.
And so tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Where do you want to start?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead, professional.
Okay. So I don't know. What does it say
we met in 9th grade at Winter
She didn't
Beach.
say how we met. She said, tell us about yourself. Individual. You want us to answer that question?
She got it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that, but just a little bit about yourselves. You know, you are a facilitator and an educator. Teresa, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. All right. So I have been raised in the Seattle, Renton, Kent area my whole life. I am the founder and CEO of an organization called BRAVE, which stands for Building Resilience, Awareness, and Variations of Excellence. And really, I'm a mother of a 13-year-old. I am pregnant right now. I'm 5 months pregnant to another beautiful daughter. And really, my passion in life is to contribute to the advancement of Black and Brown people overall. And so that's what the organization is all about. But that I feel like that's my personal mission in life as well as my professional mission.
Amen.
Oh well, I'm her husband. So she got everything going on.
Tell them what you do.
My name is Vincent Carter Vincent. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to? What should I say? Like where I come from? I'm from Seattle.
Yeah.
My lovely wife. We've been together since we were 14. We grew up together. So I got incarcerated for a while, so we was able to figure that out. I recently got out a couple months ago, like January. So since then, I've just been trying to acclimate to society and just really, apply myself and just move the needle forward, really.
He has an amazing job. Tell him where you work.
Oh, I work at Tacoma Dodge. So it's a good opportunity selling cars and helping people get cars that need cars. So it's pretty good.
Okay. Awesome. And your wife speaks your praises and how well you're doing. So we're proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay. So, Misha, you want to start with the first question? Even like dive right into that first question.
Yeah, you guys almost dived right into the first question. So the first question is, can you tell us a little bit about how you all met?
Yes. So we met at Rainier Beach High School. We were both in the 9th grade. And Vincent was trying to holler at me, but I had a boyfriend at the time. So at the time, I wasn't really feeling him at the time. But then he changed his swag and he came back. He came back to high school. Because at first he had like hair, he had like twists. He had like twists in your hair. He had like twists in his hair. Then he came back and he had a fade. His swag was different. He was just like a whole different person. I was like really feeling him. Is that the story?
That's your story.
And so I started like hanging out with him and stuff. And I still have my little boyfriend, but I was hanging out with him. It wasn't nothing serious. I was just hanging out with him. But then I left my little boyfriend so I could be with Vincent. His nickname is Scooter. People still call him Scoot. So I wanted to be with Scoot.
Oh,
cute.
Yeah.
You have another version? What's your version?
I mean, it's pretty similar, but she thinks like I transformed and she started feeling me all of a sudden, but that's just a wrinkle in the story that was there. I didn't have my first day of school, fresh clothes on, so she wasn't feeling me at first, but it's cool. We've been, so what's that? Shit, I'm over 20 some years. That was '01. Yeah. 2001.
Wow.
It's been a
Beautiful.
minute.
That is. That's quite a minute. Okay. So you guys kind of segued into that, but how did you know that he and she, you were each other's person? How'd you know? I mean, you met really young.
I mean, for me, I was more younger. When I was younger, I was in the street. So I was more doing, I wouldn't say like, stuff adults was doing. So I'm more in the street. So I was more, far as hustling and just doing things of that nature. So far as trying to figure out like who's the one in the streets, that's not even a question you're asking. It's more who kind of fits you in real time. You know what I'm saying? So certain people you're gonna go through it with, and then certain people you ain't gonna go through shit with. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, for me, I never really been kind of like looking for the one per se, like, oh, this is gonna be the one and I'm gonna try to mold it into something. Whereas it was more of she always fit me in wherever I was at. So then it just, once we looked up and we've been together forever, it was like, oh yeah, it just is what it is. But I talk to other people and different things like that, in that whole lifestyle, but it's like, everybody's all saying the same thing. Just like we're vice versa. Everybody's gonna be, oh, you look pretty, oh, you look handsome, and it's kind of like you don't know who's who and what's what until you go through it with whoever you end up doing that with.
That's very
Yeah, I feel like I feel the same way. I feel like we were, the right fit at the right time. I feel like even within the 2 years, because he became incarcerated at a young age, but even within those give or take 2 years, we actually went through significant stuff together as kids, right? And I think that really contributed to how we feel about one another, going through those significant things, being able to be by each other's side. And it shows who's who, right? It shows who you can trust. It shows who's loyal or who's going to be there through the ups and downs. And like I said, that was within only 2 years of us being together when he was out. And so that's how I feel like over time, because we were kids, right? 14, 15, 16 years old. So even as kids, we still didn't realize how, I feel like we still didn't realize our future, right? It wasn't like we're about to marry each other. I'm about to be with this person forever. This is about to be my wife. It was more so, like he said, as we went through life together and stayed with one another, stayed within each other's life, our families as well. I feel like, there was a time where me and my family were homeless and I spent 2 weeks at his house under his mom's roof. And so I just feel like our families knowing one another, caring for one another, I think that played a part in it too, as we were, growing and getting older and still being intertwined in each other's lives.
So you kind of delved into the next question a little bit too with that one. So when the time came and the indictment was delivered, how did the both of you feel? Like, what was your thoughts about kind of the relationship and where that might go?
Whew, that is a loaded question. For me, I'll answer. So at the time, unfortunately, like when he first was in the county, and he was going through, going through everything before the trial, before pleading not guilty and all that stuff. I was mad at him. I was upset, we were teenagers. So I wasn't really even like feeling him at the time. And I don't feel like I knew the severity of the case. I didn't, I don't even know if it was in that moment when he was, in the county and everything was coming down. If he knew the severity, he matured a lot. I understand now he matured a lot faster than me as we got older. But at that time, I did not understand the severity of what was going on and what was about to happen. We never really talked about him as kids. We never really talked about him pleading guilty or pleading not guilty. There wasn't a lot of communication that he was able to have with his loved ones and with his friends. And so when the sentence happened, I feel like I don't know, I still didn't, wrap my head around what was actually going on and what the long road was ahead of us. You want to answer that too? What were your thoughts?
Man, I mean,
You want me in your life, baby?
when are you asking like relationship wise, or like what was I just thinking like?
You
Kind
can
of
talk about
overall.
both. You can talk
either
about
or.
both,
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
I mean, the case that I just ended up getting out from was pretty much like a second big case I had caught. So prior to that case, I was booked prior like 30 some days. I was out. I got out like 30 some days, but I was booked before for a serious violent case. So when this happened and everything was going on, but when I got out, I got shot. It was just a whole bunch of stuff was going on. So I knew it was like basically like, oh, this again, pretty much. That just kind of went through a situation where it's like I'm fighting a hot case. So once the charges it was like, here we go again. But for me, I never really been, she'd tell you, I never really been like no clingy type, needy type of person. So it's always been like, I gotta thug it. I gotta figure out what we're gonna do next. It always been on me. So I ain't never really like drew no play up with nobody else in it to help me like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So there's just some interesting keywords that I'm hearing, mostly that you guys were children, pretty much children, very young, going through something that was very, very serious. And like you just said, Vincent, that you had to pretty much thug it out and you felt like, you had to just do it on your own. It wasn't really like you were looking for anything. But how did you know that you two were willing to continue to fight for your love even throughout the incarceration, especially because you were so young? And Vincent, it's like you had already been through so much, and I don't know if you were expecting Teresa to be there or not, but how did you guys continue to fight for that during that moment of incarceration?
I think for me, it's easier for me than it is for people out here. Like, it's not like people think about people in jail and it's like, yeah, it's bad, but at the same time, it takes away a lot of things that you got to be responsible for that you're not responsible for. So it's really a mental thing. So I think this time it was different because we had already did this kind of whole situation of the writing and collect calls, and we had already did that. So then when it was this time around, it was like, for me, I didn't really, because I got like 35 years. So it was like, man, I'm not thinking about no girlfriend. I'm not thinking about none of that stuff. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So, and then the way I was, the way she was, it wasn't like this. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I'm looking at her like, oh, she's gonna be at, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like she's 15 years old. I'm not thinking about her, you know what I'm saying? Even though she's all, like I said, we've already done so like her mom with the phones, we were already used to it. So that kind of helped, no doubt about it. But I think over time, it just been, you know what I'm saying? It was just a consistency, really.
Yeah. I think just to follow up with his, I think it was a consistency. I think that, as a young person, and I think I talked to you a little bit about it, Dr. J, but I did go through a wild stage. I went through a stage where I was just misguided and just, all over the place. And I feel like that played a part and my age played a part in how I did show up for Vincent for some years. However, there was never a point where I was just like out of his life for like a year or 2 years or something like that, right? So I feel like just me being there, me being consistent and showing up, and not showing up in the best ways. I know when a lot of people people see us is just like, oh, they see the end, right? They see me at the end, but there was a lot of hardships, you know, on both of our parts. So like on his part, things that I did that, you know, like hurt him while he was in there, and things that like I had to obviously deal with like not having, you know, a partner. But I feel like there was a stage, he always talks about these timelines. So he's like, I don't know these timelines, but there was a stage, there was a timeline in my life where I was actually willing to be committed to him. There was a lot of things that and I should go back to when he was incarcerated and we were like, you know, we want to be together, things like that. The things that he only asked for two things, you know, a lot of the times people think like a big thing that comes up is sex, right? And he was just like, keep it real with me and don't get pregnant. That was like the two things that he asked for. He never asked me to like put my life on hold, not to go on dates, not to have sex or anything, you know, like that. But, you know, it was hard for me to even honor those things at the time. And so there was a point in my life where I wanted to do right by myself. I want to do right by my daughter, who's 13 years old now, and I wanted to do right by him. And so I made a commitment to be there, to be loyal, to truly be committed, and to truly give myself to this relationship. And there was a lot of benefits that came with that as well. So like I mentioned before, Vincent grew up, you know, prison has a way of some young people, when they go into prison, they get stuck in that mindset. So they are very immature thinkers. But Vincent did the total opposite. When he became incarcerated, he grew up really fast. And he started to really work on his mentality, the way he thinks, the way he navigates life, his perspective, the way he sees life, and all those things. And so he literally like it started to implement those different values and principles in me. And so there was a lot of benefits to committing myself to him and this relationship. And so I feel like even though you'd be like, you don't know the timelines, I feel like I was like, what, 20, I feel like 23, 24 or something.
Hey, it's your story. Let me tell you.
When I fully committed myself, I feel like I was that age. And since then, like I've been, you know, I've been there in the way where I think he needs me to be there, mostly. And so I think that played a role in it, how I started to show up, and how like I didn't, you know, it never really wavered. At a certain time in our lives, it never wavered. Like I was always, you know, I was always there. So
I agree for the most part.
except for the timeline.
Now, because your timeline be way.
When I came home from California, can you admit that's when it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my timeline. I'm saying when I came home from California, I was dedicated.
She don't talk about these timelines because we talk about different stages where she says she changed. But I say the timeline because I say it to say, no matter what timeline we've been on, I ain't never switched up. She has switched the whole routine up and be like, oh, I'm straight and narrow now, you straight and narrow. It's like, hold up, I thought we was thugging still. But I guess we straight and narrow now. No, her timeline.
I can attest to that. He has never really switched up. Even in his growth, right? Even in his growth, he's never, you know, really switched up. He's always been for Teresa. So
my heart always been for Teresa. I love it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So you kind of got into the next question a little bit. How did you know that you were willing to continue to fight for love during the incarceration? So I know you spoke about kind of where your mindset was when the indictment came down, and I mean, probably and during a loving relationship during that time wasn't the first thing on your mind, but kind of as you both started to mature and grow and recommitted yourself to the relationship, how did you know that this was something you were willing to continue fighting for?
I mean, for me, it's like I said, it's easier on a person in jail than it is out, I think, because the relationship far as not responsibilities, but just burdens of relationship is top heavy. You know what I'm saying? So whereas you have a woman doing things that she don't necessarily normally be having to do constantly anyway. But so I think for me, jail just puts everything in perspective as far as the people in your life, because people are going to tell you they love you, brother, sister, mama, whoever, family, all these different names and titles. That stuff will really show you that those titles are just titles that we give people but when you go to jail or places like when my daddy always said, you're gonna know your friends when you down and out. So you're gonna see the people who ain't gonna be, snickering. You're gonna see the people who gonna go out their way. So it's the same way when you're in jail. It's like people forget about you, and it's like, oh, damn, they still love you, but at the same time, it's like I could see. I mean, after you do so much time, it's like everybody piss themselves at who they are in your life. So for me, like I say, that's what I'm saying. It was easy because no matter what she was doing, she always, was fucking with me or made sure I was straight, or where I done had other people, I go years without talking. I went years without talking to my sister. So that for me made it where it's more simple, because now this is a situation that you can't simulate. I can't meet somebody and play the 50 Cent 21 questions and we can say, would you? Oh, yes, I would. It's like, nah, this is some real life shit you can't simulate again. So for me, I just check the box and keep it moving. I don't really got to rethink this.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, everything that, he really has poured into me and my daughter. A lot of times people think, I don't know, as we all know, there's stereotypes about men in prison. There's stereotypes about men getting out of prison, specifically Black men getting out of prison, being in relationships and things like that. But through the incarceration, like I said, he's really poured into me, he's poured into my daughter. And so it's something that you want to fight for, he's done, I don't know if you all have done the math, but it was 18 years. It's 18 years, right? 18, almost 19. Yeah. It's almost, 18 years, almost 19 years. So as you can just even imagine, there could have been wavering, right? And he got sentenced to almost 35 years. So let's not forget about that, right? So it's like when you say fight for it, that's literally what I think of. It's like, what are we fighting for? Because that could be a hardship on anyone, whether you're a woman or a man, right? You have, this man, but that's another thing that helped. He was always fighting for his freedom. He was always fighting to get home. He always had an optimistic perspective. And so that helped a lot as well. But I think, it was just the times of us really, I wouldn't even say like pushing each other, like really pulling each other to each other, like sometimes, you would have that time where it's like, is this what, is this where we should be? Is this what we should be doing? Or, is she the right one? Or things that, just the things that are happening. But I think as we pulled each other, I feel like we just continue to pull each other, close through the hardships. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing was him pouring into me and pouring into my daughter. I felt like this is something that I want. A lot of the times, unfortunately, women and men, they don't get that. It seems like they're always pouring in to their significant other. And so hopefully I'll pour into you too. But yeah, so it's like, that's not something I just want to give up. And it's just like, I have faith, I believe, and it helped with him fighting. It's not like we're just talking about it. It's not like it's just going to happen. Like, oh, you're going to get your freedom before those 30 something years. It's like, I'm with him. He's fighting for it. I'm supporting him and fighting for his freedom. And so for me, it was just something that I didn't want to, you just don't want to give it up. When you experience that type of love, when you experience that type of care, when you experience someone pouring into you and you literally seeing, what this person is giving you is making you a better person. It's like, you don't want to give that up.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people spend so much time thinking about, when they think about support and a person being there for them, they think about the physical. and they underestimate how much emotional support, knowing somebody got your back, knowing they're planning the future with you, knowing they have your best interests at heart. Like all of those things are so much more important. But when you're allowed to be physical and be in, a physical presence, sometimes you don't nurture those things. You spend more
Exactly.
time on
That's
the
what
physical part.
exactly.
So
I
yeah.
think the physical getting away too. That's what kind of
Mhm.
I think in a lot of relationships, because the physicals was distracting, especially when you're attracted to somebody. You can be the physical or throw you off and you'll overlook
Right.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? So and I think and just naturally in relationships, most people will be thinking about what they can get. So it's like, what can I get? And that person, what can I get? So then it's transactional, as opposed to like when you be with somebody, you're gonna become something with that person. So now once you start seeing, like I always tell her, if I don't like I always tell her, if I don't feel like I can win with you, I'm not fucking with you. I don't care what you look like. I don't. So for me, it's like I always felt like I could do that. So it with most people you be attracted to them, but you know you can't really make nothing happen with them.
That's a
Oh,
word.
you are
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a
There's so
word.
many things that, oh gosh, that I wanted, that you guys are just hit. Okay, it's a whole nother conversation. You're not talking about me, we're talking about y'all. So, because there's a lot of things brewing inside of me. Okay. Wow. But we talk about the things, Miss T, you and I've had conversations about things, but like, and Vincent hit on something, because I'm always picking up tidbits of what people are saying when they're talking. And you were just saying, Vincent, about how just like, she had to do a lot of things, for herself while you were gone away. So what were the emotions like for each of you when you knew you were finally coming home? That's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of feelings. How were those feelings? What bubble?
She tried to run me over with the car.
When I pulled up. So it was so much anticipation.
And she was speeding. I'm like, man, slow this motherfucker down.
There was so much anticipation, you all, like seriously, because the judge set them. So it was him and his brother. They both were resentenced together. The judge set them free on a Friday, okay? But nothing happened on that Friday. They were talking about them coming home Monday, or the latest was Tuesday. So there was that anticipation there, right? Like, is he coming home? When's he coming home? Like y'all have free men. You need to, you need to let them go. But for me, he probably was like, it's time to go. It's time to, and I don't want to speak for him, but I could only imagine for him, it was like, it's time to do it now. He's been planning this. He's been dreaming this. He's been planning this. It's literally like, now it's time for action, right? And so he would be good either way. Like, no matter what's on the other side of that fence, he's gonna be good because he got his freedom. For me, it was like, I'm just, and he knows, I'm just like a worrywart. I'm just nervous all the time, even for good things. Like I could be like, it's good things in my life that I get really, really nervous about. So for me, I'm just like, I'm nervous. I'm like, I know we've been together for all these years, but we're adults now. We have changed, I have changed. We're going to be living together. And so there was just a lot of nerves for me, specifically with us. Like, how are we going to interact with each other? I was not nervous for Imijah, because Imijah that's my 13-year-old daughter. She was so excited for him to come home, and they have a really good relationship. And so like, I just knew that she was just going to be over the hills, which she still is over the hills. They be trying to gang up on me, you all. I be feeling like an outcast. You guys do. It's like, she always takes this out. I'm like, really, Imijah?
Sweating everybody. You sweating everybody.
So that's how, but I was so happy. Even though I was my nerves were on all-time high. I was so happy, but not just for me, you all, like for him. Like I said, even if we weren't together, like that, like he's a lot of things in my life. He's not just my partner or my lover, like that's my friend. So it's just like, I wanted him, like that was the biggest thing for me first, is that this man has his freedom after being incarcerated all those years. Like that was the biggest excitement for me.
Excuse me.
No, it's okay. I know you gotta put it in. You just plugged something in real quick. But that was the biggest excitement for me. How did you feel?
I was pumped. But I don't know. I think we just used to think about it and talk about it. And like, I think a lot of things too. So for me, I was already ready. Like, oh, she'd tell you like, bring me this is what I want to wear. This is what I want to, so that's just how I am. So I was kind of like, just, taking it all in. It was cool.
Yeah. And I felt like it was, a lot of people would say it too, but it was dope that like we would always so he mentioned a little bit that we went through this when he was in the juvenile, but it wasn't that long of a period. And like, I would say things like, I'm gonna be there to the end. I'm gonna be there. And everybody's looking at me like, girl, you ain't gonna be. And so it was actually like really cool to really be there and be the one that picks him up. And we have created a life together now. So it happened so fast. I believe I got pregnant about 2 weeks after he came home.
Get it, uterus. Okay.
And we're in our beautiful home right now. We bought a home together. And so, he's only been, like I said, he got out in January. So it's been like 5 months?
4 months, yeah.
No,
6.
Yeah, a little over 5 months.
Yeah.
Almost 6.
Yep. So that goes to show you too, like how we felt when he came home. We was ready just to get it in.
Right. Okay, so now that he's home, how has navigating your relationship been? I know you spoke to like making the adjustment of living together and kind of entering into making this life together outside. What is the biggest challenge been for you both?
You can be honest.
Tell them what your challenges are.
I love how he always defers to her first.
Right.
See what she gonna say.
No, because I already know his challenges. Be honest with the people.
What's my challenges? I don't have no challenges.
Yes, you do. You're helping other men be prepared,
that's what this is for? Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Babe, stop. What are your challenges though, for real? Like, what are some of the things?
Just somebody just feeling like, because like in prison, right? You go to prison and you think, okay, you're under control. Yes, it's under control because it's like just rules. So the system is what have you under control. It's not like a person. So because like even a guard can say, do this, and if you don't want to do it, you ain't gonna do it. But anyway, when you gotta lock up, when you go eat, when you do this. So it's a form of control that you just become normalized. You grow to, understand it. But me, I always knew, and I used to talk to her about that. Like, hey, messing with somebody getting out of prison is kind of different. Now I understand people being institutionalized and have a lot of adverse type of characteristics, but a lot of people don't take into account what I'm going to view as controlling or any forms of, it's like you're infringing on me or if like you're micromanaging me because so now it's like it's worse because in the joint, I didn't even have a CO micromanaging me. It's kind of like either you're going to follow the rules or you ain't, you know what I'm saying? And then you just do your own thing. If you follow the rules, you can go days without even talking to an officer. So you're not like being controlled to where it's like, what are you doing? Who's this? You're constantly having to go. So that's something new to me where it's like, hey, why am I being, these inquiries feel like an inquisition now. It's like, because it's question on top of it. And I'm like, hold on, I don't even want to answer the first question to get to the next one, to the next one, to the next one about nothing though. And I'm not talking about no big issue. I'm talking about where you like, I'm at my mom's house, hang up, where you at? I'm at mom, like, hey, I'm still at my mom's house. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, it's not like hours later, 10 hours later, then it's like, it's like an hour later. And it's like, hold up, why you but no, I'm saying this is just a challenge that's like of a person, like what you don't feel is controlling, but it is. Because you may feel like, oh, I need communication, or this is just this. It's like, well, it is, but then it's like, well, it's tack about how you go about getting that information. Because if you just blitzing, it's like, oh, well, now I'm feeling pressed, as opposed to, finesse. Best.
So I feel like I do have, I feel like I can work on, I think the biggest thing, we got over the questioning and things like that, but I think the biggest thing too that I need to work on is like micromanaging. I feel like, at times it's like, I do like, there's times where like, if we say, okay, we're taking care of this, we're doing this, it's just like, I like to be in the know. I want to know like what's going on. I want to know. And it's just like at times when he says, it's like, if I'm given this task, if we agree that these are your tasks and this is my task, then, trust that I'm going to take care of my business or whatever. And I feel like, at times I do it with, I feel like my daughter does need to be micromanaged though, but I do it sometimes with, her, and then I see myself, I can see how he feels like that. So I feel like just, being self-aware and be aware of that. And like he said too, being aware that it's like, how is he going to take it with what he experienced in life? Like, how is he going to take this regardless of what my intentions are? But just being like, and is he going to be receptive? Because it's just like, why even go through something if the person's not going to be receptive, or or is taking it, it's a negative feeling or whatever, how the person is taking it. I feel like though what's challenging too is like our communication, but I feel like that's in a lot of different like, relationships. Like communication sometimes can be so difficult because it's like, that's not what I said, but that's how I heard it. Or that's not what I said, but on the opposite side, but this is how it's making me feel. This is how I heard it, So I feel like in those scenarios, I just feel like it's challenging, it's hard, and then you're blending. So that could be, a little hard too. But I don't know. I feel like overall, we do our best to get through, the challenges. I feel like we have an understanding that we want to win together. Like he said, like he wouldn't be with anyone that he feels like he can't win with, or he's not gonna, even his homeboys, he's not gonna spend time. He may have homeboys that he loves or that he is dealing with from afar, right? But he's not going to spend a lot of his time with homeboys that he can't feel like he can't win with. So I feel like our goal is to win. Our goal is to create a legacy. I feel like we got this far through all like the ups and downs, and there's been times where individually I feel like we both felt like we've been through hell and back, right? And then as a relationship too. So it's like, if we can get through incarceration, we can get through all the stuff that we've been through, then it's just working on the challenges to get us to continue to create the chapters in our life to get us to our goal. And like I said, our goal is to really win with each other and create a life for our kids and our grandkids. You gonna be with me that long, baby? Yeah, and I want to say too, like, I don't know, it was for a lot of people, it wasn't just me, it was for other people. Like when he came home, like I feel like we would have been married while he was incarcerated, but there were certain reasons why we couldn't get married while he was incarcerated. And so when he came home, we got married like fast, like officially married. And so like for me, it was just like, I don't know, like it was a lot. And I was just like, even for him, I'm like, are you sure? Like we're already gonna be together. Like that's there. We know that we're gonna be together, but it's like, are you sure you want to like make this, official? So, early, especially with him being incarcerated for all those years, your homeboys got that too long. It was like, you're crazy. No. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like that was, him taking the initiative, like right when he, came home. And he does a lot to make sure that my environment, my daughter's environment is an environment where we all can thrive. So I appreciate that.
Okay, nice. And so, we really appreciate you guys taking the time out to speak to us. And we know that every single relationship is unique. No relationship is the same. But, what are some pearls that you could possibly give people who are in the same situation, dealing with love, while incarcerated, before incarceration, after incarceration? What are some pearls you think that you can give to a couple going through the same thing?
I think, I mean, in dealing with incarceration, probably the main thing is really just understanding both ways. You gotta be understanding that people got lives, people got, different, a lot of things going on. So you gotta be understanding of whoever your loved ones, situation is out there. So for me, I grew up poor, so it was easy to understand that, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody doing nothing for me because we ain't got nothing. So it wasn't like I feel some type of way, like my mom was riding high and I'm not, so, but I think a lot of times in jail, you'll start resenting people based on what they're not doing for you. And a lot of times people can't, so you don't really wanna approach a relationship without that understanding. And then what I would say as far as I think even in prison, if you're with somebody, you got to be an asset to people. You can't really be a liability. You got to bring value. You can't. So a lot of times in jail, you're already at a disadvantage. So anybody that loves you, wants to help you, it's an expense. Everything costs. They want you to pay for toilet paper. So it becomes an expense. So like if you're looking at it like business, it's like either you're gonna be an asset or you're gonna bring value or you're gonna take value. So a lot of times if you're not bringing no value, the relationship's not gonna last, especially in jail.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I would like to echo that for the ladies. I think that was more so for the men. You really need to look at that. A lot of some women is in my experience or experience what I experienced, not as a kid, but they had, they love this man going into prison, he goes into prison, and then it's like, what does that journey look like when he comes home? I feel like you do need to, because as women and as people, I feel like we have to put ourselves first. That doesn't mean be selfish and not care about other people, but it's like, if you're not at your best, then how can you be your best for other people? And so I feel like if the man in prison, like he said, you have to be an asset, you have to bring value. Like, you just can't just be a burden, because it already is a burden. It's a lot. It's like, especially like for him, he was trying to be a businessman in prison. Okay. So I had a whole to-do list. I had his whole to-do list. Okay. I had my whole to-do list. So that was a lot, and so, but I loved it. I loved his hustle. I loved, he was learning, stocks while he was in there trying. I mean, there was a lot of things that he was doing. He wasn't letting incarceration, be his life. But at the same time, like he said, though, like, how is this relationship flourishing because of you? And like, women need to look at that. If it's just a burden, some men in there, they be acting like knuckleheads. They be doing all type of stuff. They just be disrespectful, all the stuff. It's like, I would say don't put up with that. Like, and then for men too, though. So like, if you have a woman and she's out, and you're talking about the things that you know what I'm saying, that you need, that you want, and she's not showing up in the way, it's like, we can't settle. It's like, you have to understand what are your needs, what are your wants, and all of them are not going to get met because you don't have the physical. That person can't be there. They can't help with bills, right? So it's like, there's the things that they can't do, but what are they doing? And so I think it's that. I feel like, just having faith as well and being understanding on both ends. One of the things that Vincent did really, really well, and I feel like that's just him. He has a lot of poise. He tries to teach my daughter that and me that too. But he never, like, you're going to have bad days in there, you're going to have bad days. And he never put that off on me, even though he heard about all my bad days and had to it had to do with that. But like, he never like got on the phone, had an attitude. Like, for men, you have to be mindful of that. Like, do something else, go meditate, go do something, go work out, before you get it, because the woman is dealing with a lot out and they're trying to be there for you. So if something happened in prison or in jail and then you bring that, to her, or you're always complaining and things like that, that could just be another like hardship. So, and then coming out, I feel like you can never really, I don't know, be 100% prepared, but like Vincent talked a little bit about, we actually planned a lot of this stuff. Like, you know, he supported me in like, you know, I had a condo and he was like, all right, let's refinance that so you can use the down payment to put on, you know, just us talking through this. Okay, we want to buy another home. We want to do this. We want to have kids. This is how we want this to look. All these different things while he was incarcerated. He had a game plan for himself. He had a game plan for his family. And so when he comes home, it's just time, or when she comes home, it's just time to execute that game plan. Have a game plan. Don't just come out and be like, okay, I'm here, you know? And so I think that is something else that I would say too. It's like, be planning for, you know, the end date while you're in there. So it's just like go time.
Then she gonna say it's all happening too fast.
Well, things didn't happen like that. Y'all can agree with that. That's a lot, babe.
Right on pace, we on track.
Yeah. I think as you guys were speaking, I know we like to think about how we're different or how our situation is different, but some of the struggles that you all have had to go through while you were incarcerated and then coming out and then blending a life together and making plans and working on communication, all of those things are echoed in just about every relationship I have been in and that I can think of. And I mean, they're relevant to maybe a person who's in a service or this long distance relationship. And, you know, it may be 5 years before they're retiring or 6 years or 10 years, however long it is. And you have to have that relationship has to be what's important. And you have to be planning towards that. Like you just said, that end game, what does that end game look like? What are we doing to get there? What are all the steps to get there? And, you know, being on that path together, you know, whether you're incarcerated or again, like I said, long distance, you can be down the street and have those same struggles of not being able to be together in the immediate, you know, and having to plan for that future. So those pearls are relevant for me. And I'm sure, you know, a bunch of people, regardless of their particular situation. So thank you for those gems.
And I just appreciate you sharing your story. Miss Teresa, you know that I think so highly of you. And, you know, just to be able to just hear you speak. And the way you speak about your husband is just so like, it moves me.
Like I'm grateful, Mom. Like I'm so grateful.
It truly moves me. And I know that this is your genuine feelings about your husband. And this is the way I want to feel about my husband. And I want my husband to be like, you know what? Are you an asset or a liability? I hope you're an asset. You know, like these are the things that I feel like Nisha said, these are things that are poignant for all different types of relationships and looking for that. It doesn't have to be, you know, necessarily somebody who's incarcerated, but there's so many things. And like Vincent, you touched on relationships being transactional, and a lot of it feels so transactional. What can this person do for me? But really, what am I doing? And what am I able to bring? And it's just, I just appreciate you both for sharing. And I took away a lot from this, not even having had, you know, experienced exactly what you've experienced, but we've all experienced life. And so I appreciate you really, really sharing your story, being vulnerable, being honest, and just being open, because I think that a lot of people are going to get pearls from this, regardless. Like Nisha said, relationships are hard. You can live down the street, you can live across the world. It's difficult. And it's a learning experience. And it's really, do you want to grow with this person? And I'm proud of you.
Can you grow with this person?
Yeah.
Not even one.
Can you?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that's what I mean. It's like it's not what you're gonna get with this person or from this person, it's who you're gonna become with this person. Let's say he got money, say you got a dude, he got a bunch of money, you'll go. It's like he's a drug addict. You might become a drug addict fucking with this clown. Like because you're thinking about what you can get, and as opposed to who are you going, because you're going to become something with this person. You see what I'm saying? So when you make a relationship transactional as far as what you're gonna get, so which one's more important, what I'm gonna get or who I'm gonna become? And then that's kind of like that's how I look at it. So it's like, if I'm serious about me, then it's I can't be fading you like that, because we're gonna go, you know, so I don't know.
Well,
I almost had to get a snaps on that one.
you tried to snap so
Yeah.
many times, and I was like, okay, like it's so much, but just really,
Who are you gonna become with this person?
That's a good one.
there is
Yeah.
so much. So thank you. I appreciate it. Misha, you want to say anything else?
No, I just appreciate the transparency, the vulnerability, the sharing. Just the two of you, your story, all of it. I feel blessed to be trusted with, the vulnerability. Like I said, you left me with a lot to think about. I mean, I'm gonna steal some of those one-liners for Vincent. I'm like, you're gonna see them on my Facebook. That one right there, like I'm going to write a couple of them down and think on them for a while. So no, I appreciate it. Thank you so
I
much.
just want to say too, I appreciate you ladies for doing this. I looked at your other interviews that you have had, and I actually took some things from I think it was the 40-year-old man, like what is a 40-year-old man plus is looking for.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the things I literally, because when he's saying it, when your partner's saying something, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like you hear him, but it's like when you hear
Harvey said it, I'll be like, yeah, I said the same thing.
but when you hear another man say it, and he was saying some of the same things like that, like Vincent says, like how they're just reacting to females, or reacting or responding, or just certain things. And so I think there was a word, it was so funny. It was a word, it wasn't, what was it? It wasn't, he used not submit. What did he say? Collaborate. No. You know what I'm talking about? The word that the man said, he didn't say women should submit, women should.
I think he said cooperate.
Yeah.
And then that's what Dr. J was like, can you explain more?
Because I don't know. I'm a why person. You know that, Teresa, I'm a why person. Because you can't just be saying stuff, because I would be like, I got my church finger, like.
But he did, what he did, like I had to give it to him. He did a very good job with articulating what he meant and what he was looking for. And it wasn't like submit. It wasn't just like you do exactly what I tell you to do. And so I love what you all are doing specifically for Black couples. So thank you, and babe, thank you so much for doing this. This is not something that he would do. I had to beg him to do this.
Thank you.
So he does not like to be, he is very, I would say you're very social, but he doesn't like being on Front Street like this. So I really do appreciate you doing this.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so
so
thank you. We're
much.
about to end the recording. Thank you.
All right.